afternoon, Jan?
I expect another immensely physical display with that pack, that tight five. In particular, were hugely impressive last week against Glasgow. Trzeski, he's up against his opposite number and captain of the Scarlets, Ken Owens. We can see how that duel goes. It's all about the Scarlets will not want to get into an arm wrestle. They'll want to keep that ball on the field as much as possible. Give them any sort of a chance tonight.
Matt Carney's the referee. The bookies certainly think that Racing will rack up a lot of points in this game. And maybe Dan Carter will rack up a few of his own. He certainly controlled proceedings brilliantly for Racing against Glasgow last weekend. And whenever he went off the field, they fell apart.
52 minutes they were commanding the game. And they lost their shape entirely when he went off. It shows the significance and his importance to this Racing side, even full of the stars that they've got.
It all went a bit zany and unconstructed when Dan Carter left the field. It was amazing, really. All the Racing players' eyes almost come out on stalks as the shape went. Here's Mike Phillips now, 33 years of age, playing at scrum half for Racing this afternoon. Nice and still out there, cloudy overhead. A little bit of light drizzle occasionally in the air, and taken well by Brice Dulin. Disappointed not to be in Guy Novez's French squad, lost his confidence a little bit at the World Cup. But Racing played with huge confidence last week. All 4 tries against Glasgow coming from the forwards. Here is Brice Dulin, and outside him is a player they rate very highly here, Louis Dupichot, who came through the academy.
Well, they saw evidence there, having 2 receivers, Tales and Dan Carter, having a split field, being attack both sides of the breakdown. You also see the power, and the Scarlets cannot afford to miss first-up tackles. We saw how effective Bordeaux-Begley were yesterday in their offloading game. If they win the collisions, they then get their offloading going, and these immense ball carriers just power downfield.
Nice to have your 2 first receivers with a left foot and a right foot. Here's Nyanga, Mike Phillips, and it's Remy Tales to Casey Loilala. So 2 All Blacks in midfield in Carter and Loilala, and they're building a little pod of All Blacks here now at Racing. Joe Rokathoko currently on the injury list. Chris Masoi today is on the bench.
They seem to be having a lot of influence on this Racing side.
Off goes the spiky Mike Phillips. I think that's a fair term to use to describe Michael Phillips. Up against Gareth Davis today, the man who kept him out of the Welsh side during the World Cup. So that's a nice little head-to-head.
And equally robust as well, players.
Anthony Classen now, and the whip ball wide to Brice Dulin. Racing are trying to play with more width this season. Casey Loilala, Scarlets, remember, nothing to lose. They're out of the pool. They've had 4 consecutive defeats, so they can go out and they can play and they can enjoy themselves. And when the Scarlets play rugby the way they can, it's always highly entertaining and spectacular to watch.
Especially with the players like Regan King in midfield. Expect to see some of his handling skills on show if he gets the ball.
Anthony Class, an easy ball for him to deal with, and Brice Dulin puts in, I used the word spiky to describe Mike Phillips, and that was a spiky little kick from him.
Very cultured. And he is disappointed not to get involved in Guy Novez's first squad. He's such a wonderful counter-attacker.
Now, I tell you what the French director's got to be very careful of here today. He's going to show a lot of replays like this. Meanwhile, Scarlets have gone quickly and they're playing rugby elsewhere in the field. So sharpen up, Mr. Match Director. Let's watch some rugby. And here's some now. Hadley Parks. And again, you see they're looking for the width. DTH Van der Merwe, 43 tries he scored for Glasgow. And Dupichot, he's wanting to take his opportunity. He was up for the challenge there physically. And now here's Dan Carter. Oh, he's seen the space. There was so much of it in there behind that Scarlets defence. And they're on to it quickly through Brice Dulin. They're in all sorts of trouble here, the Scarlets, through Steph Evans.
Well, that's such an astute kick, such an intelligent kick. That was a frantic period of play. Both sides really trying to keep that ball alive. But he's the one who lifted his head up, identified.
Carter takes it quickly, and it's LaRue. Great offload, and it was Karitsa with the inside ball. And maybe he didn't have to do that because Racing there had so many numbers. The Scarlets were on the back foot and under stress.
Yeah, Karitsa did need to offload there. I mean, not his forte. You need to hold on to the ball. You see what Dan Carter brings you. safe to say. With Dan Carter on the side, Racing United could well win this tournament. Without him, I don't think they can. He brings that emotional intelligence, he brings that awareness, that ability to scan, that ability to make the right decision. He lifted his head up, identified where the space was behind, and put the pressure on the Scarlets.
Manuel Carriza scored the bonus point try last week for Racing towards the end, one of the final plays of the match. The front row all scored tries as well, numbers 1, 2 and 3. Fairly rare that. Morgan Allen, and it's Davis, and it's Shingler away to touch. Stephen Shingler at out half, who landed a very late penalty to beat Connacht last week in the Pro 12. Important kick, remember, the Scarlets top of the Pro 12.
Yeah, that was a very important kick for the Scarlets. They were on the back of 4 losing games in a row. They needed to win that. A bit fortunate at times, 2 disallowed tries. Connacht will feel a little bit aggrieved with one of them in particular, with Masterson. But he nailed the kick, and that was a significant kick for the Scarlets. He also put one over against Munster, similarly late on in the game.
Missed one against the Ospreys, though.
He did miss one. Always bring the negativity into this.
Ian Evans never sees anything negative about anything the Scarlets ever do.
Never seen anything negative for a start.
Well, Racing very good in this stadium. They've won their last 9 games here. In fact, they've lost just 1 of their last 11 in Europe, and that was against the Saracens in the quarter-finals last season. The Saracens already through to the quarters. Home quarter indeed guaranteed, as are Leicester. The Tigers will be at home in the quarters, and Racing will join them if they secure a try bonus point success here. Nyanga taking the line-out ball, and he was a very important part of the line-out last week here against Glasgow. The real go-to man. He's very light. They can lift him high in the air, use his spring to win that clean ball.
Yeah, very athletic, good hands in him as well.
Mike Phillips now, the rumbustious former Lion, played all the test matches in 2009 down in South Africa. Here is Tammy Funa, the vast canvas that is Tammy Funa, one of the try scorers last week. Well over 140 kilograms, would you believe. Here's Dan Carter to Lailala. How will these All Blacks knit together in midfield today for Racing? Round the blind side goes Nyanga. Mike Phillips, and he gets it to Carriza, who's really settled into the club here at Racing. They've been very impressed with him here, the management team, since his arrival. Off goes Casey Lailala again, former Cardiff man, played a fair bit of rugby in Wales, playing against a Welsh region, of course, today. Taken on by LaRue. Phillips now, Remy Tallez, and off the wing comes Louis Dupichot, the 20-year-old who came through the academy. Now here is Dimitri Sarzetsky.
Yeah, Tallez will attack the game line. He likes taking the ball flat.
There he is, flat as you say, and then Dan Carter, neat hands to Tammy Funa. Off goes Tallez once more. 24 caps for France, Remy Tallez. Captain Castra to their 2 top 14 titles before he moved to the capital. It's a lot of defending early doors here for the Scarlets. All the pressure coming from this Racing 92 side. Matt Carley blows his whistle for the penalty to the home side, who are very much on top at the moment.
Yeah, Bryce Doolan taking the ball in the contact. Now, he's not the man you want to take the ball into a tackle. You want him playing in the wider channels. You want him taking defenders on. Yeah, enough ball carriers there. He's not the one, particularly in a battle with a second row.
Well, the referee, listening to Matt Carley here, I'm not sure if you can hear him at home. We had problems with the referee microphone before the game. Brice Doolan certainly taking one around the neck here from George Earl. Polino is in there too. But did I hear Matt Carney say something about a potential tip? Maybe I misheard him.
Yeah, I think he's going for Gareth Davis earlier on, a couple of phases before, potentially.
Well, we can't hear the TMO. Not sure if you can at home, David Grassoff. And this may be the incident here. Anthony, well, there's nothing there. Maybe it's coming to a screen near you soon. Well, I think it must be the high tackle, surely.
I don't think I was particularly high, to be honest.
Well, Matt Carney's saying it's not that. So there's a little bit of confusion. There's no footage. Well, there you go.
We just go with the original penalty. We wanted to look at that over there, but they can't get the replay, so we just go with what we originally had.
Well, they simply can't find the pictures in the French television truck.
They're watching a film on the other side. But a really forceful, physical start by Racing. Dominated possession, dominated the ball. And because they're winning the collisions, they're looking for the offload constantly. We saw Exeter struggle with this at times. If the attacking side is winning the collisions, they can get their offloading game going.
Dan Carter has landed his last 8 kicks for Racing in Europe this season. 11 from 12, and that's now 12 from 13 from the great man, 3 times World Player of the Year, and playing in the 12 shirt where he began his career all those years ago.
He's just got a knack that he can identify what the course of action is and then execute that perfectly. That's what it's about, just to doing the fundamentals, the basics really well. It's not flashy, it's not about beating 15 people, it's about making the right decisions at the right time. That's what you want from your key players in a side, particularly in the pivotal roles.
Luke Charter is carrying there, and he's had a cracking season for Racing, the Welshman. 55 tackles and also 30 clear-outs, which is astonishing. Here's an astonishing rugby player, Dan Carter. He looks for the offload, but not successful there, and it's taken away by Steph Evans, who played quite a bit at fullback during the World Cup window for the Scarlets. Remember, the Scarlets have a very high injury profile. 14 men on that injury list, including a lot of key players, big players like Scott Williams, Liam Williams, Jake Ball, and many more. Here is Dulin. Where's he going this time? Tries to find a bit of space, but runs only into Hadley Parks. Anthony Claassen again, wearing 8 today. Chris Masoe wore 8 last week against Glasgow, played very well. The 36-year-old Tommy Funa just bumping players out of the way. Gosh, he's some size, that fella. Now Tallez, and there's that right-footed option at first receiver that we were talking about, taken by Michael Collins at fullback. Liam Williams not too far away from returning to fitness after his metatarsal operation.
Yeah, Scarlets kicking down the field, not kicking a touch, just pushing Racing back. They want to play a territorial game, make sure that any attacks Racing have are from very deep.
And they'll be very aware, of course, that last week 3 of the Racing tries came from driving lineouts.
You cannot afford to be camped in your own 22 because this driving line is so effective. Once again, it's Tallez attacking the gain line and bringing Carter in on a scissors. And Tallez will always do that. He will always look, ball in 2 hands, attack the gain line, bring the ball carriers over and past the defensive line. It's generally going to be Laulala taking the ball up, because you wouldn't want Carter doing that time and time again.
There's the Racing bench, smiling as always. Chris Masoe, you may have seen his interview last week after the match against Glasgow, when he and Dan Carter were testing out each other's French, and they were both rubbish.
It's a great signing, though, Masoe.
There's Davis now. Gareth Davis, 5 tries at the World Cup. He's not going to get his hands on the ball there. And away goes another Welshman in Luke Charteris, the 6'9" former Perpignan player, settling it well at Racing. Now Dan Carter, his turn to be at first receiver. Laulala and Anthony Claassen then gets away from the tackle of Ken Owens, the Scarlets captain. And away goes Grace Dulin. And Dulin, if he gets outside his man here, there could be trouble and danger for the Scarlets. Dupichot was the supporting player, but how many times have we seen Dulin do that in the Castres shirt, the French shirt, and now the Racing shirt?
Again, split field, the Tallez on one side of the field, Carter on the other side, plenty of width, allowing Dulin to get an open field. But he also got to compliment Bernard Leroux at the breakdown. Very hard working, flanker. No Wenceslas Laurie today. It's Bernard LaRue's taking his role, but equally effective at the breakdown. Works really hard on that aspect of the game.
Well, Racing's last loss, talking of Castra, was at Castra in November. Racing 8 matches now without defeat, including 2 draws though at Saints and at Toe. Racing winning 3 of their last 4 in the top 14 and drawing the other one. So definitely in a very rich vein of form at the moment. Rory Pittman there on the blind side. Good to see him back after his ruptured bicep. Here's Shingler, Regan King in midfield. Interestingly, Regan King's son was one of the extra men today for the Scarlets if there'd been an injury during warm-up.
He's mini-me as well. He's a spit of his father.
Here's Gareth Davis, and Nyanga grapples with him and working hard there. Nyanga, the back row forward.
Yeah, Bernard LaRue once again being a pest on the floor. He's so good at disrupting opposition ball.
Dupichot, flat pass I think it was there to run him off, and inside to Dupichot. That's lovely rugby. Here's Evan, and that was stupendously honed by this Racing 92 backline.
Yeah, Martin Castrogani's busy cycling home, and even you can see the beauty of that try. So you get talented back 3 players who can beat a man. Steph Evans gets caught a little bit, gets stood up. Again, stay in the game. That's what Imhoff does. He beats his opposite number first of all, stays in the game, doesn't go to ground, keeps in the move. So he's there to support and get the pass, the return pass. Again, steps on the outside, ball on the outside arm, passes back inside, stays in it, waits for the offload back inside. Beautifully finished by the Argentinian.
He had a great World Cup as well, didn't he? 5 tries in that World Cup, including 2 against Ireland. Remember him last season, the game he had against Northampton at Franklin's Gardens. He was really on fire on that occasion, and looks like he's on fire already here today.
He's an excellent player. And good, terrific interplay with the 2 wings, Dupichot and Imhoff. There's a beauty of keep in the game, stay in the game, don't go to ground unless you need to. They're always there for the return pass.
Just to remind you that if Racing do win with the bonus point 4 tries, they will be at home in the quarterfinals, as they were last season when they butchered an opportunity to go through to the semis, losing 12-11 to Saracens here, a game they really should have won.
Yeah, brain freeze on that day. I don't think they'll do that with Dan Carter playing.
Yes, they had their brains in the cryotherapy chamber in the last couple of minutes of that match. And there's a man with ice in the mind, Dan Carter, and he continues this long run of fine kicking form. But what a fine try that was.
Important the Scarlets get this Racing team on the ground. If they don't, this is what happens. Again, right wing and left wing combination. Dupichot come over all the way from the right hand side to be there in support. Lovely interplay, good communication, terrific execution.
Dupichot once more to Anthony Klassen. The first try in 2 games for Racing, actually scored by a member of the back line. All 4 from the forwards last week. Bernard LaRue goes to ground, and here is Brice Dula.
With Racing now, as you see a work of art being generated on the touchline. He's a quick worker. Do you reckon he put the stand in first before the game started?
Was that Toulouse-Lautrec? No, he was too tall. Too tall. Mike Phillips launches one long. And back there goes Steph Evans, Welsh under-20 international. And interesting positioning there, good positioning from Yannick Nyanga, former Toulouse man. Here is Anthony Klassen. He's seen a lot of the ball today as the Springbok, 6 caps for South Africa. Nice offload, Bernard LaRue taking the ball from Phillips, and now Nyanga. They're trying to play here. Racing, not a great pass, putting Dan Carter under pressure there. Not much he could have done with that pass, really.
They're trying to play, they are playing.
It's a sort of a basketball chuck he had to deal with there. And here is Remy Tales now. He gets hit hard on the gain line. Good tackle by Paulino, the Samoan.
Yeah, Paulino's got a couple of really physical challenges and he has to.
On him off. Reds through. Michael Collins is there at full back. And true to the word, Racing, they have been determined this season to develop their game, as we said, not just thumping it all through the forwards these days. They're trying to get all the shirt numbers involved in what is they're hoping to develop into more of an all-court game.
They're maintaining their width for the one, but because they win in the contact area, they're able to not overcommit to the breakdown. They're able to get their offloading game, which gives very little time for defences to reset, to reload back in position, and they're running into broken field constantly.
Well, Matt Carley wants a look at something here, and Yanga getting hit a little bit late, is he there, by Paulino. Matt Carley has moved close to the big screen at the left end of the ground, so he can focus in on that little bit of activity.
Well, that is fine. I don't agree with the first penalty with a high tackle, but that certainly was.
Swinging arm as well as high, so I'm looking at a yellow card. What was the number 5?
Marcelino Paulino didn't make the World Cup squad, big Paulino. He could be departing the pitch here now. Matt Carley thinks it's a yellow.
It's definitely a high tackle, no doubt about that.
Well, I believe at home you cannot hear the referee very clearly, neither can we, to be honest, but the decision there was a high tackle, swinging arm by Paulino on Yannick Nyanga, so the gigantic Samoan will spend 10 minutes in the bin.
That's a blow for the Scarlets because he's been pretty physical out there. The one man seemingly able to put in some physical challenge at that time. It was an awful one. Yellow card, but it was definitely a swinging arm and high.
Quite a number of Racing men have made the French squad. Guy Novez's French squad. Eddie Benarous, Camille Shah, who's on the bench today, the teenager. Alexandre Dumoulin, Wenceslas Loré, who's been rested this week. Maxime Machineau, who's on the bench as well.
See the Scarlet supporters all the way down from the Scarlets region, from Llanelli. They've seen the game dominated by Racing in his first 17 minutes or so, but territorially, possession-wise, you've seen the passing stats, over three times as many tackles. Scarlets are struggling to get out of their own half at the moment. There's a relentless wave after wave of attacks from Racing 92.
Direct flights from Wales to Paris, Jan?
Yes, there are.
Good. So it makes it easy for them to get here. Because it can be complicated, these journeys. Well, a couple more games coming up for you later on today in the Challenge Cup. Harlequins against Cardiff, Sky Sports 5, 3 o'clock. The Quins need 1 point to be sure of qualification. And the Women's Premiership final, Richmond against Saracens, also Sky Sports 5. And that game is at the Twickenham Stoop. Just while we wait, on another point entirely, Ian, we stayed in the Courtyard Hotel in the Défense area last week for the Glasgow game. We stayed in the same hotel this week, and I was in the same room as I was last week, room 101. Isn't that where you put things you don't want?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that anecdote with our viewers. I think they'll be enthralled.
You remember the series Room 101? Is that why they're putting me in there? They're trying to get rid of me.
Need to put you in a darkened room.
Dmitry Sorzetsky, and it's Luke Charteris again using that 6'9" height, and that's Loilala. Good tackle by Shingler, really cut his man down there, didn't he? Real commitment in the contact area, and here goes Sorzetsky. Tommy Funa. Yeah, they are. That's what 140 kilograms does to you. Class and lovely offload. Sorzetsky, Dan Carter, and it's Dupuy Show now, and Dupuy Show is brought to turf in a fairly animalistic fashion, and then the Scarlets come in over the top and then rip the ball on the floor as well. So it was actually a double penalty against the Welsh region.
So exactly what Racing 92 are about. Big ball carriers, busting through tackles, get on the offloading game going, get beyond that first line of defence. Tommy Funa really smashing over his opposite number. So him against Samson Lee, 2 threes head to head, only one winner in that collision. And then that allows Carter to attack that wider channel, get the ball early to Dupishow, give him an opportunity. And the penalty being ceded.
Well, here's the big fear, the big worry for the Scarlets. It's a line out close to the Scarlets line, and this is how they destroyed Glasgow last week 3 times. Szarzecki takes, and here comes that drive. Szarzecki in possession of the ball, and this is where they murdered Glasgow. Can the Scarlets bring them down before they get to the line? They've done a pretty decent defensive job in there, the Scarlets. I'm sure they've done a lot of work on that in the weeks build up to this game. Mike Phillips gets it out. Phillips looking down the blind side, then he decides to go wide. Mike Phillips goes for the line himself there, but he was well covered up by Scarlets defenders. And you can see this power game of Racing 92. Glasgow simply could not handle it last week, and it wore them down. Here's Charteris. Penalty advantage coming the way of Racing 92 as Scarlets were caught offside on the line. Rory Pittman. Wouldn't be at all surprised though if they go for the corner again now.
You're right, the Scarlets would have prepared for this. I mean, no secret the type about the type of rugby the Racing would like to play in opposition 22. That driving line out, such an effective tool for them, such an effective weapon in terms of the way they play. So good at winning that ball, that power, that sheer mass they have. They're a well-drilled driving line-out unit.
Szarzecki, and it's Nyanga, target man last week, target man again this week. Trying to spin around the corner there, now picked up by Karitsa, the big Puma.
Twice now the Scarlets defended that quite well.
Defended very well. Can they defend against Tommy Funa? They've had trouble stopping him so far in this game. Again, all the time the Scarlets defence is being heavily stressed here, and now they have numbers on the outside. Oh, and that was a little bit of Parisian butchery in the end.
Yeah, just overrun the passes. Hold your depth when you get in those channels. Don't rush the passer. They created the overlap. Plenty of numbers there. Just needed to hold his depth. Tal is there, guilty of overrunning. Both needed it. And Dulin actually overrun as well. Just hold your depth.
So a chance to escape. Shingler takes it. Aaron Shingler this time. The Shingler brothers on the pitch today. Aaron and Steve carried on by Morgan Allen and away by Gareth Davis. But still in play, and Anthony Claassen is in possession again. Off goes Brice Dulin with those black sleeves of his, dancing away from attempted tackles, getting loose from Rory Pittman on that occasion. Now it's Remy Tallez, and on the ball once more is Anthony Claassen. Here is Casey Loilala, and he couldn't juggle the ball into a Racing hand, and the ball is in touch, and Casey Loilala is not very amused with himself there. You may have heard the squeal.
Yeah, desperate defence for the Scarlets, but I think Racing though now a little bit over-eager. Crabbing a little bit. Here is all about depth. It's all you need to do, just hold your depth. Dulin, just hold back. So they had the numbers out, and Imhoff would have trotted in unopposed.
And Nyanga, of course, Phillips, Dan Carter flat this time, making full use of the fact they have 2 international 10s on the pitch. Racing 92. Mike Phillips once more flooding round the corner. Tallez and Loilala. Well, the referee wants to have a look at what DTH Van der Merwe did in there to the All Black Casey Loilala.
I don't like it when players dive in afterwards, just to make build a little bit of pressure on the referee. He's blown the whistle.
What you said comes over very badly, okay?
Mike Phillips involved? No. Well, he put his point across there very clearly. Did Mike Phillips. Again, we're not sure if you can hear the referee loud and clear or not, but obviously that's what they're looking at, is the alleged tip tackle by DTH Van der Merwe and Casey Lala. Ian Evans, your thoughts?
Yeah, he definitely lifted legs above the horizontal.
Okay, 11. Yeah, that's fine.
It could be carded here.
11.
He didn't have particularly a distance to go. He didn't have that far to drop, but nevertheless, he lifted legs above the horizontal.
Well, you'd fancy Racing to get a try now, because in the meantime they're against 13 Scarlets, with Polino still got 3 minutes and 59 seconds left to serve of his bin time, and obviously DTH with 10 to go.
Scarlets did win a game, the first game of the Pro 12 season, when they're down to 11 men at one point, right at the end of a game. Certainly not in the first quarter of a game.
Yes, that was against Glasgow, round 1 at Scotstoun. And what a defensive effort it was that day by the Scarlets. So they're down a forward, they're down a back, the Scarlets. Sarzetsky, and they're not contesting there this time, the Scarlets. So they've got to make sure they're physical now that Racing are in control of the ball. And to be fair to the Scarlets, so far they have defended the ball really well. Sarzetsky goes to floor. Surely they could take advantage of this extra man here. Here is Casey Lala, and yes, they do take advantage of the fact they're playing against 13 men, and it's the number 13 for Racing 92, Casey Lala, who plunders a second try for the Parisians.
Well, when you focus on defending and driving more and pulls in defenders, trying to break down the speed, and then he's one-on-one for Laulala with barely a yard to go. Terrific feat by Laulala. That's what he offers. He calls for it. Passed on the blind side. Sampson, he can do very little about that. But it's just relentless pressure being exerted on the Scarlets now by Racing 92. They're camped in their half. They can't find an outlet. And Jackie Lorenzetti, the owner of this side, will be fairly pleased with the way the game started for him.
He has a tradition, doesn't he, that whenever Racing score a try, he kisses his wife Francois, but we missed that. She normally sits just behind him. Anyway, Dan Carter, 2 from 2 so far, 2 tries. That's the critical thing. Remember, Racing needing 4 tries here, and the winning bonus point to guarantee a quarter-final back at this stadium. The new stadium, we're being told, will be finished this time next year. It will be all covered with a 4G pitch, 31,000 capacity. That's going to be some sight.
With the biggest screen in an indoor stadium behind one set of posts.
You are listening. Yeah, doing it again. That happened last week. He didn't strike all his kicks particularly crisply, but they all went over.
Pulling in defenders. Good.
Shingler floats the restart, and it's taken by Luke Charteris. Mike Phillips. And just to confirm this pool as it stands, Racing qualified with a victory but need to win with a bonus point to get a home quarter final. Here is Breeze to Lanlow, and it's Mike Phillips. Are they on for try number 3 here? Desperate scoreless defending. It had to be, but the Racing 92 side flooding forward into the Scarlets 22. Up against 13 men, and it's Remy Tales. This should be straightforward. and it's Anthony Klassen who plants the ball on the turf for try number 3, and the Scarlets are simply being overwhelmed here in the capital.
Scarlets 13 men cannot possibly hope to cover every bit of space out there. Dula in open field, once again split field, attacking one side, using Dulan's football ability at 15, and then the football ability of this man, Tales. Hasn't got the greatest range in his kicking, distance-wise, but he does love those flat cross-field kicks, and they tend to be pinpoint in accuracy, and he finds Anthony Klassen out wide. That is inch perfect.
Quick flash there of DTH van der Merwe on the bench. He's been a great signing for the Scarlets. He's already scored 5 tries in the Pro 12, but unfortunately today it was his tip tackle that reduced his side to 13 and opened up all sorts of avenues, channels and oceans of space.
It's always about creating and exploiting space, and there's far too much of it for the Scarlets to defend at the moment, especially when they're down to 13 men, now back up to 14. But it's a clinical side that makes the most of that 2-man advantage and all that acres of space behind.
DC. Over 1,500 points at international level. And he's been kicking so sweetly since he arrived at Racing last month.
Yeah, 3 tries already in the bank. 28 minutes gone in the game, and that's a pinpoint. And you can just see a lot of players having their backs turned, trying to get back in position, trying to cover all that space, and there's far too much space to cover.
Scarlets all offside from the kick-off. Usually ignored, was there. Here's Dupichot. Need all the help they can get at the moment, though, the Scarlets. Bernard Leroux and Tales now to Carter and Brice Dula to Loilala. Just get the feeling now Racing are going to run from everywhere in this game. Just need the one more try, and they will be guaranteed a home quarter-final of the Champions Cup. Bernard Leroux takes it on, and they've given away the penalty. Bernard Leroux? Did I say Bernard Leroux? Danny Leroux? Benny, hang on a second, it was Eddie Benarous. Knew it sounded something like that, who was in from the side. Yeah,
Swiatkowski couldn't quite get these. He was busting a get there. The right decision. Laid that ball back. And then they're finding so many gaps in the Scarlets defence. They're scrambling to get there. Desperate times the Scarlets at the moment. 8 penalties conceded already in the game. And that was the first penalty conceded by Racing 92. They're willing to attack from deep, but willing to attack from their own 22.
Yeah, recent form's good for Racing. Beat Clermont away on the 27th of December, followed up with a home win against Bordeaux, then those 5 match points against Glasgow last week, and looking set for 5 more match points here, the way things are unfolding in this first half. Rare possession for 14-man Scarlets. Here's Regan King, beautiful rugby player, he really is classy, and showed a little dollop of that class there.
It's only the second time he's touched the ball on the game.
You're not seeing much of the pillar, are they? Gareth Davis has his out half to his left, and here he is. Shingler, and Collins is hit by Casey Loilala, and the referee doesn't like the way Loilala has done that, and Gareth Davis goes off quickly there. Surely not 10 when he was tackled by Eddie Benarous. Here's Ken Owens. Good physical work there by Owens, running hard into Manuel Caritza. Now Davis for Hadley Parks. Here is Aaron Shingler. Davis again, Shingler to Rory Pittman, has spent a lot of time in recent times away from the squad through injury, as is Morgan Allen, in fact, the number 8 today. Now Shingler. At least they're getting a bit of ball and going through a few phases here, the Scarlets. Haven't had much opportunity to do that, have they? Taken on by George Earl. And now it's Big Phil John in his 50th European appearance for the Scarlets, the man who's in his 17th season with the club. Now it's Morgan Allen. Shingler, Hadley Parks, and Steph Evans gets away from one tackle, gets away from two tackles. This is great work from Steph Evans, the Scarlets right winger. But now Klassen has got his hands on the ball. Bit of pilfering by Racing deep, and they might just go from deep here. Juan Imhoff in possession, who set things underway with that early try.
Steph Evans looks as if he's injured after that run. Really good run.
Tales for Zetsky. Here's Dan Carter, and he finds Dupichot. Nice step, good footwork from Dupichot. The youngster is showing why he is so highly rated here in Paris by this club, and it is Louis Dupichot who seals the home quarter final in the Champions Cup for Racing 92, and we've only played just over half an hour.
Well, in the broken field, they really are clinical. They're taking every chance of coming aboard. Dupichot will create the earlier try for him off, this time scoring it. That was a terrific run by Steph Evans. But Scarlets turn over the ball. Klassen's there to win it. Racing been very good at the breakdown. And that broken field play, the quick feet of Dupichot and flailing arms of the Scarlet defence couldn't prevent him galloping up the field 70-odd yards. It's such a dominant performance now by Racing 92. Since the Scarlets at the start of the season playing with 2 sevens, Jim Davis, John Barkley, quite as effective forcing turnovers and retaining ball on the floor. Now they're playing with Aaron Shingler at 7, wasn't a natural 7. And with Leroux, with Shazesky, Benarou, so good at that aspect. Klassen as well, Nyanga, stealing ball on the floor, and then giving their outside backs a chance to create havoc out there.
Was there for Dan Carter, as you'd expect. Dan Carter was one of the players who was instrumental in setting up this try. His pass that released Dupichot in the first place, and then we saw the sparkling footwork and then the pace from the young right winger.
Runners so balanced, so light in their feet, ability to move the point of focus, and defenders plant their heels. And as soon as they're on their heels, you know you've got a defender. You can move away with them with some ease.
Well, there's the guarantee there for you that if they win the game, of course, Racing 92, which looks fairly likely, they will have a home quarter-final in the Champions Cup and join Saracens and Leicester with home ties in the last 8. Michael Collins. This really is a roasting for the Scarlets now, isn't it? 31 points to 0, just 35 minutes play.
They can't get a foothold in the game at all. Very little possession, very little ball in opposition half. Dominant performance by Racing, helped by indiscipline for the Scarlets.
Gareth Davis is tackled by fellow Welshman Luke Charteris. Not forward on the scrummage. Laurent Travers looks on. Laurent Travers and Laurent Labitte are the coaching staff here alongside Ronan O'Gara, and he was very warmly shaking the hands before the game of the Scarlets backs coach Stephen Jones. And of course we all remember Ronan O'Gara dropping a goal for Ireland when Stephen Jones was playing for Wales to win the Grand Slam in 2009. Stephen Jones had a late penalty to win the game for Wales, but sadly it dropped just short.
You waited to get that off your chest all morning, isn't it? A lot of puzzled faces at that. The Scarlets, I think, deep down aware that it could well have been a tough afternoon for them. Hit by so many injuries. Focus is probably towards the Pro 12s on top of that. And with Racing 92 in the form they're in, the dominant form they're in, physically dominating opposition. And with the talent they have at their disposal out wide. The problem is, you look at the bench, Goosen, Chavonsi, Machino, Masso to come on, Masoe to come on, Castro Giovanni looking for a new contract. want to create an impression when he comes on.
You talk about the Scarlets' form recently. The win against Connacht was after 4 straight losses, including 2 in Europe against Glasgow, back-to-back, home and away. Scarlets just 3 wins in the last 10. Connacht, Zebra and Treviso. So the form, even though they are top of the Pro 12, has not been top class in recent times. Anthony Klassen, Dan Carter.
That kick, no. There was nothing spectacular about the kick, but it was the right thing to do. There wasn't an awful lot on. The intention was to go a little bit wider, but it wasn't on. It just turned to put the pressure back on the Scarlets, and the Scarlets have a defensive line out near their own 22. It's about building pressure, creating pressure.
The Racing have won all 8 of their home games this season, 6 in the top 14, 2 in Europe. Saints 33-3 and Glasgow 34-10, and they've already passed the 30-point mark again here against the Scarlets. Off goes Carter. Oh, what an offload to Brice Dula. Nyanga's on his inside. The little push through for Dupichot to chase. And back there covering well was the Canadian international DTH van der Merwe.
The centre side is in form, and that transition from defence to attack. Look at the brought the ball back from that deep kick downfield. Dula was initially involved, passes on to Carter, sumptuous offload by Carter, and building pressure once again. You always look at a side how much confidence they got when they look so comfortable in transition. You absorb what the opposition gives you, and then you counter punch. And this is a side very much on the front foot.
An injury back here, and it's Rory Pittman who's been winded.
I thought you asked him whether he had wind,
and he left. Yeah, that might be more accurate actually. After this first half, had to do some running, some defending. Must be exhausting out there for the Scarlets. And Wayne Tivak up there with Stephen Jones
and Byron Hayward, management team.
Scarlets have already missed 19 tackles in this first half. It shows you how relentless that pressure has been from Racing 92.
And it is relentless. When you miss first up tackles, then the offloads come. And if you're scrambling to get across and you miss more tackles, it compounds the situation. You have to make your first up tackles. After that, you're chasing.
Lee, who's been penalised for dropping to his knees.
Yeah, difficult for the Scarlets. There's no respite. There's no aspect of the game when they can grasp the initiative. That's all. And when we saw the line out on the breakdown is the scrum. And when you've got someone of the quality of Carter to orchestrate things behind, he's not going to take his foot off the floor. Keeps keeping that pressure on.
Karica takes the line-out ball. The foot is firmly implanted on the Scarlets' throat at the moment. Anthony Klassen has a little look up to see what's in front of him, and it's Mike Phillips now to Dupichot. Plenty of Scarlets defenders there this time as he tries to wrestle himself away. Klassen does well. Here is Sorzetsky. Mike Phillips has a flood of Racing jerseys to his left. Klassen is one of those. And it's Remy Tales once more for Casey Lalala. He's already got one try to his name, and he's going to get another one. Try number 5 in the first half for Racing 92. And they are giving the Scarlets a right walloping here.
The footwork of Casey Lalala once again to the fore, leaving Rory Pittman grasping in thin air. All those missed tackles just hurting Scarlets. No panic, just get back in field, but that's just Scarlets, as a consequence, are going to work so hard defensively for the first 40 minutes of this game, which has been dominated by Racing 92. Again, got to keep the press going. You've got to protect your inside. And over-chased. And just left someone with a stepping ability of Casey Laulala. A very comfortable step inside. That's a consummate first half performance by Racing.
Well, the Scarlets have been punctured in so many ways. 5 tries for Racing 92 in the first half, and this guarantees them a home quarter-final in the Champions Cup. Racing 92 38, Scarlets 0. Racing racing away with it here in Paris, cutting and thrusting through the Scarlets defence. Scarlets not helping themselves with those 2 yellow cards, but Racing simply too good in too many areas. Scarlets, I suppose, some sort of respectability the target, but Racing, well, looking forward to something similar in the second half, and hopefully for them, racking up a scary score, and that's the danger for the Welsh region here in this second 40 minutes.
Yeah, we just see how long Dan Carter stays on the field here. Took him off to 52 minutes last week against Glasgow.
Well, they've started with a bit of intensity of Racing, getting a good drive in there and in that maul, but the Scarlets doing well defensively, not quite as well as our wonderful pitch side artiste.
Well, he's moved on to his second painting. Obviously sold the first one already. But it's about making our first up tackle again. 2-man tackle there. Ken Owens with Hadley Parks. You need to get numbers that prevent that offloading game, which destroyed the Scarlets defence in our first 40 minutes. I'm picking up on what Scott was saying in the studio at half-time. It is about starting again, because there will be some residual effect for this. It'll be a legacy, a negative legacy, if this scoreline was deteriorate to such an extent in the second half than it was in the first half.
Rodri Jones is on tight head for the Scarlets, and off goes Shingler. Gareth Davis, and here is big Morgan Allen. Remember, no John Barkley, no James Davis. Another 2 key players who are injured. And here's Polino, who was yellow carded in that first half. Oh, what a run by the big Samoan, and what a start to the second half by the Scarlets. The try from DTH van der Merwe, and it looks like the men from Wales are chasing that respectability hard in this second half.
What a line from Polino. Beautiful line, picks that up, and again, comfortable in that open field, as you would expect Samoan. It to be a lovely one-handed offload, nonchalant one-handed offload. And lovely time, lovely sympathetic pop pass from Gareth Davis. Great line from Polino. Easily gets past through that. And good support line from DTH van der Merwe. Just wants to get his hands on the ball. Barely touched in our first half. Just defensive work. And obviously spent 10 minutes in the bin. So the Scarlets are up in the second half.
By 7 points to 0, to be exact. But DTH van der Merwe, he's such a wonderful trail runner, Jan. You'd really appreciate that as a winger.
So you work hard off your wing to support the breaks. And that's a man with a try-scoring instinct. We talked about Dupichot and Imhoff in our first half. They also seem to have that attribute, and it's a critical attribute that any top-class wing needs. An instinct to be. We talked about Ashton, how good he is at finding those trail lines, how good he is hunting out for a try-scoring opportunity.
DTH, who scored a try in every pool game in the World Cup, man of the match against Italy. And a really good signing for the Scarlets. I mentioned the first half, he's already managed 5 tries in the Pro 12.
That was his first one in the Champions Cup for the Scarlets. Racing are also going to be careful, they don't switch off totally. So he's 13-8-0 up at half-time, an annihilation in that first half. So easy sometimes to switch off and disengage the brain, as what happened there with Karitsa.
Yes, French clubs have a habit of doing that, switching off when they get so far ahead they reckon they cannot be caught. Here is Polino, nice hands to Phil John, now Rory Pittman.
Rory Pittman at times towards the end of our first half looked to be struggling for the pace. His first game since the 12th of September. Not surprising, really.
Yes, after that ruptured bicep injury, nasty injury. Morgan Allen had a similar one alongside him in the back row today. Here's Shingler, and off goes Hadley Parks, the versatile Hadley Parks, who can play in most positions of the back line. Gareth Davis to Shingler now, and that's good defence from Tommy Funa.
Tight head on tight head. Ronnie Jones is a big man, Tommy Funa is a bigger man.
Well, the official stats say 145 kilograms, which is a Parisian dumper truck.
I don't think he'd eaten that day, though. That's a huge tackle. He also got really good hands, actually, when you see him offloading the ball. Really sympathetic offloads, soft hands.
Well, he's won 2 Super Rugby titles, Tommy Funa, fine rugby player in his own right with the Chiefs. So the Scarlets fans enjoying a good start to this second half from their side. Already a try to their name. And away goes Rory Pittman, trying to build up that match fitness here. Tackled by LaRue, Gareth Davis goes in, now big Phil John thunders forward, good run from the loosehead. The veteran loosehead, over 300 games for the Scarlets. Gareth Davis goes in and Bernard LaRue comes flying through there off his feet. So a penalty against Racing. And that's 3 penalties in quick succession. Matt Carley making that point very clear. So Racing on a little bit of a warning there too now.
We saw this against Glasgow, man. They were again controlling a game very comfortably as Glasgow, and then switched off and tried playing some bizarre type of rugby. Last time they seem defensively slightly off the mark. Defense have been really good throughout the season, both in the top 14 and in Europe. They seem to have switched off a little bit in the second half, and the Scarlets are keen to take advantage. They spent some time on attack, which is what they didn't do in the first half. They weren't allowed to.
Scarlets finishing bottom of their pool last season and likely to finish bottom of their pool this season. Tom Phillips is on there now as well, wearing number 20 for the Scarlets. Got to use this ball here, and it's Gareth Davis, and almost through again. The Scarlets. Gareth Davis digs the ball out, and in goes Shingler, tackled by Remy Tallez. Polino picks up and finds Tom Phillips, and they're right on the verge of a second try here, the Scarlets. Gareth Davis gets the ball out to Rodri Jones. Now an opportunity for width here. Oh, if they float the right sort of ball, it could be a try for Steph Evans. The Racing defence gets across just in time. They were quick on their feet there. The Frenchman, now Ken Owens, and he pops the ball up brilliantly. Gareth Davis, here is Shingler, little step and dummy and go, but he's caught by Karitsa. So the first 10 minutes is all Welsh at the moment. Gareth Davis again. Eddie Benarouche makes the tackle. Mike Phillips is in there to assist him. Penalty to the Scarlets. Regan King hasn't quite got the pace of old. He's still got all the guile though. The referee says no advantage, and he did warn them. That's the 4th penalty in the first 10 minutes of this first half. And it's Mr. Spiky himself, I think, who has been deposited in the bin for 10 minutes, Mike Phillips.
Well, Matthew Carley was quite vocal in his instructions. He said there was the next one would have been a card. But again, a bit of pressure here from the Scarlets. So they get on the front foot and offload from Ken Owens. We saw how effective that was in unlocking defences for Racing in the first half. Again, the word you used, a floating pass. Now, floating pass also allows time for the defenders to get back across. And that ball was in the air a long time, and that allowed him off to get back and make just a tackle that checked Steph Evans there.
So it's Racing's turn to attempt to survive a man down. Third yellow card of the game. 2 in the first half going against the Scarlets. And it's a powerful scrummage by the men in red, and the penalty comes their way, and well, they might go for another scrummage here and stay persistent here and see if maybe they can force a penalty try out of this.
Once you get the first drive on, the first scrum goes well, and really put it in. It's very much in the referee's mind. That was a positive scrum. Looking to create more pressure, build more pressure, make life difficult for the referee. Martin Castrogiovanni trots onto the field. Well, walks on the field.
He's just back after a back tumour, which affected his World Cup involvement. So good to see Martin Castrogiovanni back in action. 115 caps for Italy. There he is, a Heineken Cup or Champions Cup winner with Toulon in his spell there. Tammy Funa goes off, and as does Dimitri Swarzetsky and Eddie Benarus. So they changed the full front row. In fact, it was that front row that scored 3 tries last week. Swarzetsky, Tammy Funa and Eddie Benarus.
Yeah. He did the job they were brought or selected to do in that first half.
Can they keep the pressure going at the scrum? Well, that looked like, well, actually the ball went through the tunnel. It did look like a bit of slippage as well there. Swarzetsky getting some pat in the back there from Henri Chavancy, who's on the bench. Mike Phillips receives a little bit of treatment. Racing have won all 6 of their home games in the top 14 this season, only to lose also a 100% home league record, and well, it looks like they're going to continue their excellent home record here in the Champions Cup as well, as long as they don't get too floppy mentally.
I think the last team to win here was Stad, wasn't it, last year, at the end of last season, in the top 14.
Into Paris Garvey. Gareth Davis waits. Oh, good run by Gareth Davis. Brilliant work by the scrum half. He can be so deadly around those fringes. We saw him working magic in the World Cup, and a second try in the first 10 minutes of this second half from the Welsh region.
Yeah, so alert, so quick off the mark. Again, the scrum didn't work in his favour actually. He was turning the whole back row, blocking him. Such acceleration, such pace off the mark, and such an eye for the try line. Again, ball in 2 hands, and the step off that outside foot just takes him inside Tales, and good body position to score. And now the Scarlet supporters are in full voice. But it certainly would hearten the Scarlets coaches after being demolished in that first half and really not helping themselves with discipline, some poor defending, and consummate first half performance. They've taken advantage now. Whether Racing have taken their eyes a little bit off the game, you would expect that's the case. But Scarlets really have exploited that.
They do have a tradition, French clubs, of doing this, but fair play to the Scarlets for fighting as hard as they are fighting here.
Well, they're responding to that embarrassing scoreline at half-time. As you would expect from a side at the top of the Pro 12, you have to respond. You can't just take that sort of punishment and turn your back on it. You have to confront it second half and show some character, show some resolve. Otherwise, you get even more more of a mess in the second half, and the legacy of that would be really tough for the Scarlets to take.
Looks like it's in Dan Carter's contract that he only plays 52 minutes a match.
I thought it would be long before he's taken off the field. The pressure's a commodity for Racing. As I said, they could well win this tournament. They certainly won't do it without Dan Carter.
Anthony Klassen. Racing need to respond here just to take the wind out of the Scarlets' response here.
Well, Siavonsi will certainly bring some aggression and robustness in the midfield. Very much the spiritual leader of this Racing 92 side. Come through the ranks of the under-11s all the way through.
There's a man to keep an eye on in the second half. Camille Shah, just 19 years of age, but already has forced his way into Guy Nobez's plans.
Very dynamic, good ball carrier. Light on his feet than Jozeski is.
Remy Tallez. There's a lot of height on that, so it gives Castro Giovanni a chance to get close to the ball. Michael Collins comes in, tries to claim advantage to Racing now. Here's Casey Laulala, another one of those floated passes. Anthony Klassen, and he uses his huge bulk there to try and get forwards for Racing. Remy Tallez to Yannick Nyanga. Bristula almost intercepted there by Shingler. And again, as you were saying, Ian Evans, that's what happens if you float things through the air.
Yeah, the longer that ball's in the air, the more opportunity to be intercepted, or the defender to get back into position.
Siavonsi carries, might be just the man to settle things down, as you say, for Racing in this second half.
But Lewis was talking in the studio at half-time about Racing 92 at their best. They're very direct. And we saw that with Bobo Begler yesterday against Exeter. They're their best. I think these big ball carriers are in very direct lines. When they start going touchline to touchline, position feel they got an opportunity, and they will certainly fit the Scarlets at a game plan far better. They start going touchline to touchline. It's about being direct and then creating those mismatches out wide and that broken field opportunity. Siavonsi will give that directness in the midfield.
Yannick Nyanga, really good signing. Played the Heineken Cup final for Toulouse against Munster back in 2008. The second of Munster's Heineken Cup successes. Good win for Munster yesterday against Stade Francais. Real response to their rather inept performance in Paris the week before, when very on Munster-like were dropping off tackles. Coming up later on, Quins against Cardiff in the Challenge Cup. Sky Sports 5, 3 o'clock. Quins on the verge of qualification. And then the Women's Premiership final from the Twickenham Stoop. Richmond against Saracens, Sky Sports 5.
Anthony Klassen, his game is done. Shoving off defenders. It seems just falls awkwardly there.
Dimitri Swarzetsky answering a few questions to our host broadcasters there, who started this game as the captain of Racing, and it's Nyanga. He takes a little line-out ball for Racing, and here comes the ball. Can they re-establish themselves now, Racing? Julien Brugnot, former Munster player, carries the ball on. This is more like it from Racing, and crawling, or what they call it, swimming up the side there came George Earl.
All over Camille shot there. As soon as they trying to get that driving maul in effect on the front foot, the Scarlet desperate to avoid that. And two things they did really well in that first half was spoil that driving line out. Do it again.
Looks like it could be a groin injury for Anthony Klassen. Chris Masoi is the replacement for him, the All Black.
Part of the match last week, and the Rose broadcaster, immense amount of carries, and nearly all of them very effective.
At 36 years of age, here's Camille Shah and Nyanga once more. Now the Scarlets really defended this aspect of the game extremely well in the first half. They might struggle to defend this one because Racing are so close to the line. In fact, they are in such control of that situation that the referee, Matt Carley, decides that it's a penalty try due to the intentional collapse.
This is a big part of the Racing game. Into the corners, make the most of that. Martin Castrovilliani, as I said, looking for a new extension on his contract. Keen to create an impression. Sheer size of his numbers. Again, Masowe at the back, driving thing, controlling it. And forces the penalty try. I like throwing Nyanga up to win that ball and get the big boys behind.
Black sleeve, Brice Dula with the conversion. 45 points to 14. Celebrating the decision by Matt Carley to give that penalty try. Welshman against Welshmen. And confirmation that Racing 92 do have a quarter-final, a home quarter-final in the Champions Cup alongside Saracens and Leicester. Who will the other home quarter-finalists be? Will it be the Ospreys, possibly? Maybe Wasps, Toulon, we shall see. Chaumoncy to Casey Loilala. Karitsa to the fresh-legged Chris Masowe, whose last cap for the All Blacks was in the 2007 World Cup quarter-final. Off goes Yannick Nyanga, who looked like he was hauled back high there. And the crowd certainly are booing, and Camille Shah looking to get the offload away. Here's Remy Tallez. Now Chaumoncy. Steph Evans came off his wing there. Now Casey Loilala, and it's Karitsa who's on the chase here. Back goes Shingler. Try score, Gareth Davis is in there, and his captain Ken Owens is in support. Davis again. Racing keeping good pressure on there defensively, just not making it easy for the Scarlets to get out of their own 22 here. Gareth Davis takes that responsibility. Here is Chaumoncy and Brice Dula. Look at the footwork there, getting away from Hadley Parks. Super stuff from Dula. Then he did enough to stay on his feet well too.
Not a great kick from Gareth Davis, came far to an infield, allowed Dula to counter-attack. Those dancing feet of his.
Dula once more, Castro Giovanni and Remy Tallez. Ken Owens just about does enough there. Castro Giovanni to Chaumoncy. Now Chris Masowe, he'll use that bullish approach. Here is Chaumoncy, and here is another try for Racing 92. And it's scored by Juan Imhoff, his second of the afternoon. And the rampant Racing we saw in the first half now continues in the second.
And the influence of Chris Masowe very evident in this second half. His carrying ability, the punch, like nice wraparound pass there from Castrovilliani. Getting involved twice in the play. There's a link play. There's no associate Martin Castrovilliani with link play, did it twice involved there. And again, winning the collisions, able to allow the offload for Imhoff to finish. He's not going to miss opportunities like that. And normal service is resumed for Racing 92. And that offload from Masowe. They go back earlier on. That pass from Tallez on the game line to release LaRue was exceptional.
Well, lovely finish by Imhoff, but it was the handiwork, the crafted handiwork in the build-up that set the Argentinian on his way and in again.
Chaumoncy involved. The bench are making an impact. Chaumoncy, Masowe, Castro Giovanni, all involved in that try.
Well, you said in the first half about the power and the quality that Racing had on the bench today, and it's certainly been highly apparent And here's one of those men, Masoe, dancing away. LaRue, and referee is going to bring them back there. Inside the 22, I almost got a chance to see the running game of Kamil Shah.
He got a little overexcited there. You could see the wide open space. And he was galloping into it. You've got to catch the ball first.
Another good contribution from Luke Charteris. So he goes off now.
The things about Luke Charteris, his contribution, whether it's tackling, whether it's winning line or ball, whether it's disrupting opposition, driving the line out. It's a huge amount of that. Remember the rucks he hits. Huge worker. Work rate.
Thibaut Dubarry is on for him.
There's another good line out forward.
He's been such a fine player, Masoe. He's really enjoyed himself as he came to France. Tremendous performances for Castres initially, and then at Toulon, and now at Racing. And there's a quality player too in Yanga. What a career he had at Toulouse.
Isn't these two, the introduction of both Masoe and Carter to this Racing side? At times Racing, you know, for all the quality they've had on the field, movement of players, brought in best part of 40 players over the last couple of years or so, been a little bit disjointed. And the backs aren't quite on the same wavelength as forwards. I think they have it, both Chris Masoe and Dan Carter have a unifying effect. They have that gravitas, that authority as players.
Gareth Davis to Shingler. Shingler does well. They get outside the defence there. Bernard LaRue eventually makes the tackle. Gareth Davis to Hadley Parks, and Polino timed his run well. Came onto the ball hard there. Gareth Davis, the Scarlets looking for a third try here, and they're very close to nailing it. Davis again. Ooh, little creep from him. Just didn't do enough this time as he did previously. And they're still burrowing, are the Scarlets. And an offside against Chris Masoe here. So advantage to the Scarlets. Gareth Davis to Shingler, and couldn't quite release the ball. Casey Lalala did some pretty good work there in defence, but remember there was an advantage coming for that penalty to the Scarlets against Chris Masoe.
Yeah, Scarlets were full aware advantage was being played, and then tried to do something off it, knowing there was a penalty coming otherwise. There was a penalty against Masoe. It was offside from that phase play. That's an excellent tackle from Laulala. You see Steph, who's got to the outside. Good scrambling defence by Laulala.
Reece Doolan departs, and Johan Huisson comes on. Three more Scarlets get ready to make their way onto the Stade du Manoir pitch here in Colombes, in the La Défense area.
Yeah, Goosen comes on for Doolan. Goosen's gone well at 15 in the games he's been selected. And then he brings an alternate 10 into the game as well. Equally adept at outside half or 15.
Well, the Scarlet scrummage has gone pretty well in the second half. They forced a penalty out of Racing close to the line a short time ago. So they're taking a similar route here. Gareth Davis with whitewash bespeckling his head. Shows how often he's been close to the Racing line, doesn't it? Off goes Morgan Allen. And he wasn't held, I don't think, there, so he gets a second dibs.
Move back.
Racing were all over the ball there. It was Kamil Shah who came in, and that looked horribly illegal.
That could be called.
I think they broke most of the laws in the book there.
And a few that haven't been invented yet.
We had a clear run, and then he's coming and picked the ball up.
Little conflab. I think 9 and 10. What's going to happen? Carter. He's going to have his portrait done, I think.
You sit there and
Is that a sitting?
I'll draw you. It's a sitting. It's a sitting.
It's a sitting. Yeah.
The Queen does those, doesn't she? He's the king.
Certainly is. And that's what the Racing support think of him.
The female support.
Not shy making her feelings known there.
Not in Paris. The city of romance. I think it's fair to point out the Scarlets have a very fine record and pedigree in Europe. 3 times this century they've made the semi-finals, 2007, 2002 and 2000. 2 of those occasions very close to making the final itself.
We did win here 2 years ago. Oh, actually. I don't think that's likely to happen today.
Better scrum this time from Racing. Pick up and go and drive by Scarlets. Chris Masoe comes in. He tried to steal the ball there. Never really going to achieve that. Here's Ken Owens, the captain. Real hustle and bustle about this Scarlet side for large parts of this second half. And can they get another try? DTH Van der Merwe goes. He already has 1 notch to his name. Gareth Davis fires it out to Rodri Jones. Davis again looking for his options, and Pittman is one of those.
They need a bit more speed on the ruck ball. That's what ends up tired out defences. Haven't got time to reload. Racing did really well at slowing that ball down. He's trying to get back in position and be physical around that area. You see Gareth Davis hunting, hoping for mini rucks, quick ball, quick phase ball. He knew what he needed to do. He needed to get that ball away quickly.
Racing have been knocked out at the pool stage every single time they've played in this competition, except once, and that was last season, that 12-11 defeat to Saracens here. You might remember Marcelo Bosch's 52-metre penalty for the final kick of the game.
But you look back and you watch that game again in its entirety, a game they were very much in charge of, and they should have won comfortably. They just froze at exactly the wrong comedic levels at one point towards the end. No one was in charge, trying to play rugby when Nigel Owens told them exactly what they needed to do. You seal the ball again and you're going to get penalised. That's exactly what happened. And up strode Marcelo Bosch.
Yes, there was that shot that day. Johnny Sexton had been replaced and he was sitting in the stand with his head on his hands. He couldn't believe what his Racing teammates on the pitch were doing without him.
And you take off an international out at half at key moments in the game.
And Nyanga. And Mike Phillips, what a dummy for the 33-year-old. There's life in the old dog. Here is Johan Husson on. He knocks the ball on with his paws. Placement scrum half, Rodri Williams for the Scarlets. Plenty of decent scrum halves at the Scarlets these days. Alan Davis being rested this week is fancied to be in the Welsh squad when it's announced next week. Tommy Funa, let's see what his pace is like. We know all about his bulk. He's pretty shifty.
He could boot the ball fairly quickly, but he wasn't intending running very far.
I meant he can shift. I didn't mean he was shifty, you know what I mean. If only it had been me, thinks Dan Carter, I might have scored.
In his defence, he thought he was having a well-earned rest and finds himself back on the field.
Yes, he was taken off, wasn't he? Tommy Funa, the entire front row was replaced.
There wasn't even a second thought about, do I keep the ball in hand? The boot was going straight to that ball. You can see how good his hands are, man. The way he caught that.
Well, you don't win 2 Super Rugby titles unless you're a good rugby player, do you? You don't get picked in New Zealand unless you've got the high skill sets. And off he goes again.
The skill set of that tight 5 is really one of the last best sets him apart from any other team in New Zealand.
Mike Phillips, and ball is not knocked forward there. Here is LaRue. Oh, nice offload, beautiful to Tales, and here's another one, and Racing have scored again, and this time it's Johan Husson who gets in the corner, and now the scoreline really is racking up into well, it's a huge total now for Racing. They really are destroying this Scarlets side.
And LaRue gets his hand beyond the tackler. That's what it's about. Get the hand beyond the tackler to get that offload going. Get those long levers. Very difficult then for the outside defenders to get back. And the damage has been caused by LaRue.
They've got their All Blacks set here at Racing 92 these days. They've got a South African set as well. Van der Merwe is currently injured. There's another one of them in Husson, and LaRue involved as well. I know he's a French international, but he's born in South Africa, is Bernard LaRue. Anthony Claassen in that number as well, French international, born in South Africa. So Husson, signed from the Cheetahs a couple of years ago, takes over the kicking duties, and the ball just drifts away on the breeze. 57-14, but they've really reasserted themselves after conceding those 2 early tries in the second half to the Scarlets.
Yeah, those 2 tries would have been a shock to the system, and exactly what Racing would have wanted, actually, now having to respond again. Otherwise it would have been a game they were cantering away in the second half.
Here's Husson again. Oh, he's clean through here. Scarlets looking very, very tired indeed now. Beautiful handiwork, and the hand comes in from Rodri Williams, and it's going to be at the very least a knock on. They might consider a deliberate action here.
Yeah, it would have been a very popular try if Henry Javonsi would have scored. Some very comfortable in those spaces, looking to counter-attack. Well, they are calling a deliberate knockdown, actually. Penalty against the Scarlets. Interesting you were talking about the sort of the players being brought in. They went through a couple of years where it was 20 players in, 20 players out. Very difficult to integrate those players and get any sort of core philosophy to how they wanted to play, how they would approach a game. They'd been more selective about their signings this last tournament. Not as many coming in, but what they have brought in is top-end quality. Chris Masoe and Daniel Carter, 2 names that jump to mind.
Yeah, for a while it was like almost like Lorenzetti lottery, but not now. We haven't lost too many line-outs in this game, have they, Racing? It's been a very accurate part of their game today, and Nyanga was the target again there from Kamil Sham. It didn't work out. Rodri Williams. Dan Jones is on, and here goes Steph Evans. Dan Jones, who played pretty well for the Scarlets during the World Cup window, the youngster, when players were away on World Cup duty. Good tackle from Tammy Funa, putting in a good second shift in this game. Carried by Wyn Jones. 3 Joneses on the bench for the Scarlets today.
Dubari with a big tackle. It's hard for the Scarlets to win collisions. Sometimes you're just outgunned physically by a bigger side. LaRue, very good at the breakdown, always in hand.
Bernard Leroux, who started the World Cup quarter-final against New Zealand. And there's the biggest man on the field, try against Glasgow. World Junior Championship winner as well a long while back. And Camille Chat also played in the World Juniors for France last season. In fact, it was a second consecutive error at the line-out. Dmitry Swarzetsky was hitting his men on a regular basis. Camille Chat not able to replicate the quality of his captain.
So it's difficult when new hookers come on the field. I mean, a new second row, a new back row player as well. Different unit on the field.
Stephen Shingler, and that didn't look too tasty. A couple of Racing players are now down injured actually, and there's been a knock forward anyway, so that gives an opportunity for these players to be treated.
Whoever Racing end up playing in the quarterfinals, we know they're in the quarterfinals, and we know they got a home quarterfinal. They're going to be a formidable outfit to try and match up against. As Tales, a big clash there, caught on the side of the face. It looked difficult, but they are going to be a formidable opposition, physically very imposing side. And when you ally that to the sort of the intellect, as Casey Laulala get up on the field from his 2 tries in this game with a great footwork. But you go back to what bringing players the quality of Carter as well. It brings an intellect onto the field, an authority, composure to this immense power and try-scoring talent that this side have. And they haven't always made the most of it.
On the match, Casey Laulala, and appropriately smiling in celebration of securing that award today. Yeah, Racing seem like a much more mature side this season. They're top of the top 14 at the moment. They've been rampaging through this pool, so they're quite obviously firing on both fronts this season and taking it very seriously.
They seem to be more comfortable in their skin as well. I talked about that. The influx of so many players in and out.
Chavancy, old-fashioned crash ball there from the Frenchman. And away goes Mike Phillips again, who's looked pretty lively in this game. A lot of energy and those ageing pins of his. Already seen one dummy and break. Here is Camille Chat. He does bounce off players. He really is solid muscle. And that's a super little offload in a tight space too to Chavancy.
You're in an offside position, you push the player, leave it.
That artist is prolific.
Isn't he just?
Is it one of them, or is that just the one artist? Amazing.
Must be his 3rd or 4th piece, actually. Is he going for quantity rather than quality, or?
I think both. I'm very impressed with his hand drawings there.
Quite a dab hand with crayons, isn't it?
Yeah, and just graduating from colouring in this week. Moving on. Remy Tales, little hook pass through the legs. But the referee has called him on. Tammy Foon is having a ball since he came on.
Grab a kick and now a drop goal attempt.
Tell you what.
Anything Adam Jones can do.
Yeah. I've seen Adam Jones trying the pass for Cardiff. So 3 minutes to go. Can Racing pass the 60-point mark here? Mike Phillips to Casey Laulala around the outside, and it's Johan Hussen again. Scarlets fair play at the breakdown, still beavering away, but they'll do well here to stop Racing, because here comes Camille Chat. Now Mike Phillips fires it behind Tammy Funa. There's lots of numbers on the outside channel, and Casey Laulala, the on-do match, goes in for a hugely deserved hat-trick.
Just pulling too many defenders. Chad took that ball in, helped by Nyanga to win that collision, drove over the gain line and then whipped that ball away quickly. Plenty of width in the passing. Defenders are scrambling it out wide. It could have anyone or a couple of players. Him off outside could have scored as well. I think Casey Lalala fancied the hat-trick. A Champions Cup hat-trick for Casey Lalala. Again, a lovely wide flat pass from Tallers. We've seen those pop passes on the gain line. That time was a wider pass.
Well, he's had a wonderful performance today, Casey Lalala. He scored 3 of the 9 Racing 92 tries. No wonder there's a smile and a smirk on the face of the club owner, Jackie Lorenzetti.
His wife will have lots of kisses today.
He'll be covered in lipstick, I think, after this one. 9 kisses, and beautifully kissed across the crossbar by Johan Hussen as well. 64 points to 14.
Yeah, pretty ruthless performance. And on that blip in the first 10 minutes or so in the second half, they've dominated the game physically and in every other aspect of the game.
Scarlets come off their feet and Racing go quickly here. It might be time for another try, you never know. Absolutely exhausted now, the Scarlets. Nice hands again. Now Lala finds Juan Imhoff. He's had a couple of tries himself. And it's circus act stuff now from Racing in this final 10 seconds. A lot of glitz about the way they're playing. Tommy Funa goes again.
At their best when they're very direct and they pull in defenders, and that creates the space.
Tallez, Chris Masoe is going to bounce for the All Black. It is. Masoe couldn't quite get the inside ball away. Scarlets clear downfield, and I wonder will Racing have another run from deep through Caritza. Oh yes, they are. Here goes Mike Phillips, little chip and chase from him. Can he get on the end of it? No, he can't, but Imhoff can. Good feet from the Puma. Oh, through the legs of Tallez again. Now Casey Lalala. Here's Tallez. It's great to watch. Chavonsi can't be great to defend against. If you're the Scarlets, out on their feet, they could finish with a try. Let's see what they can do from here. The ball probed through by Dan Jones. And down goes Dupichot. And will Racing just get rid of it now and say that's enough of the nonsense? And it was entertaining at the end. It's been entertaining throughout from Racing 92, an absolutely crushing performance. 64 points to 14 against the Scarlets. Dan Carter certainly played his part again, and Racing 92 have secured a home quarter-final in the Champions Cup.